Marcus Chen wiped the sweat from his forehead as he stared at the massive structure before him. The alien Sentinel towered above the research facility like a metallic mountain, its surface gleaming with an otherworldly blue sheen. For 3 months, the best minds on Earth had tried to understand this thing. Scientists, linguists, computer experts, and military strategists had all failed. Now they were asking a simple maintenance engineer to take a look. "You sure about this, Marcus?" Dr. Sarah Williams asked, adjusting her glasses nervously. She had been the lead researcher on the Sentinel project since it crashed into the Nevada desert 6 months ago. "The thing hasn't responded to anything we've tried. No signals, no communication attempts, nothing." Marcus shouldered his toolkit and walked toward the base of the Sentinel. "Sometimes the simplest problems need the simplest solutions," he said. "You've all been trying to talk to it like it's a computer. What if it's just broken?" The Sentinel stood nearly 200 feet tall, shaped like a massive obelisk with intricate patterns carved into its surface. Those patterns pulsed with a faint blue light that seemed to breathe in slow, steady rhythms. The crash had left deep gouges along one side, and several of the glowing circuits appeared damaged. Marcus had spent his entire career fixing things that others had given up on. Broken generators in remote mining stations, damaged life support systems on space freighters, and countless pieces of equipment that experts claimed were beyond repair. He had a gift for seeing what others missed, for finding the one loose wire or damaged component that made everything else fail. The military had cordoned off the area with a 5-mile perimeter. Soldiers watched from a safe distance as Marcus approached the alien structure. Everyone expected another failure, another disappointment in a long line of unsuccessful attempts to activate the Sentinel. Marcus knelt beside one of the damaged sections and opened his toolkit. The patterns here were clearly meant to conduct some kind of energy, but several of the pathways had been severed during the crash. He pulled out a small scanner and began tracing the damaged circuits. "Interesting," he muttered to himself. "The energy flow is blocked here, here, and here." He pointed to 3 specific locations where the glowing patterns had gone dark. "It's like a circuit breaker that's been tripped, but the reset mechanism is damaged." Dr. Williams watched through binoculars from the command post. "What's he doing out there?" she asked Colonel Barnes, the military liaison for the project. "Looks like he's treating it like any other piece of broken equipment," Barnes replied. "Think it'll work?" "I doubt it," Williams said. "We've run every diagnostic test imaginable. The technology is completely alien. There's no way a simple mechanical repair could activate something this advanced." Marcus ignored the chatter on his radio and focused on the damaged sections. The patterns reminded him of circuit boards he'd worked on, but far more complex. Instead of simple copper traces, these pathways seemed to be made of some kind of crystalline material that could channel energy in 3 dimensions. He pulled out a small welding torch and began carefully cleaning the damaged areas. Bits of debris and twisted metal had lodged in the crystal pathways, blocking the flow of whatever energy powered the Sentinel. It was painstaking work, requiring steady hands and infinite patience. After 2 hours of careful cleaning and repair, Marcus noticed something remarkable. The patterns were beginning to glow more brightly. The damaged sections he had cleared were starting to conduct energy again, and the steady breathing rhythm of the lights was becoming stronger. "Dr. Williams, are you seeing this?" Marcus spoke into his radio. "My God!" came her reply. "The energy readings are increasing across the entire structure. Marcus, whatever you're doing, keep doing it." Marcus moved to the second damaged section and repeated the process. This area had suffered more severe damage, with several of the crystal pathways completely shattered. He couldn't repair them with conventional tools, but he noticed something interesting about the fracture patterns. The breaks were clean and geometric, as if the crystal had been designed to fracture in specific ways. Marcus realized that the pieces could be fitted back together like a three-dimensional puzzle. He began carefully repositioning the crystal fragments, using a small tube of conductive paste from his toolkit to hold them in place. The moment the last piece clicked into position, the entire Sentinel shuddered. A low humming sound filled the air, growing louder and more complex. The blue patterns began pulsing faster, and new sections that had been completely dark suddenly blazed to life. "Energy output is increasing exponentially," Dr. Williams reported over the radio. "Marcus, you need to get away from there. We don't know what this thing is capable of." But Marcus was transfixed by what he was seeing. The patterns weren't just random decorations. They were a complex network of information pathways. As the energy flowed through the circuits he had repaired, he could see data moving through the system like blood flowing through veins. He moved to the third damaged section, the largest and most severely damaged area. This section would require more than simple cleaning and repositioning. Several of the main energy conduits had been completely destroyed, leaving gaps that couldn't be bridged with the original crystal material. Marcus studied the problem for several minutes, then pulled out a length of fiber optic cable from his toolkit. It wasn't the same material as the alien crystal, but it might be able to conduct the energy across the gaps. He had used similar techniques to jury-rig damaged systems countless times before. Working quickly, he spliced the fiber optic cable into the damaged conduits, creating temporary bridges across the broken sections. The moment he completed the final connection, the entire Sentinel erupted with light and sound. The blue patterns blazed like miniature suns, and the humming grew so loud that it shook the ground. Marcus stumbled backward as the massive structure began to move. Sections of the obelisk slid apart with mechanical precision, revealing complex internal mechanisms that defied understanding. "Marcus, get out of there now!" Colonel Barnes shouted over the radio. "All units, prepare for potential hostile action." But the Sentinel wasn't preparing for battle. Instead, it was scanning. Marcus could feel invisible beams of energy washing over him, probing and analyzing. The sensation was strange but not unpleasant, like being examined by a gentle but incredibly powerful intelligence. Suddenly, the scanning stopped. The Sentinel's movements became more purposeful, more focused. A section of its surface slid open near the base, revealing an entrance that hadn't existed moments before. Soft light emanated from within, and Marcus could see what appeared to be a corridor leading into the heart of the structure. "Dr. Williams, Colonel Barnes, are you getting this?" Marcus spoke into his radio, but received only static in response. The Sentinel was apparently blocking all communications. Marcus stood at the threshold of the entrance, knowing that stepping inside would change everything. The logical part of his mind told him to wait for backup, to follow protocol, to let the experts decide what to do next. But his engineer's instincts told him something different. This machine had been waiting for someone who could fix it, not someone who could understand its advanced technology or communicate with its alien creators, but someone who could see past the complexity to the simple mechanical problems that were preventing it from functioning. Marcus took a step forward into the corridor. The moment his foot crossed the threshold, the entrance sealed behind him. The walls around him pulsed with the same blue patterns he had seen on the exterior, but here they were arranged in different configurations. They seemed to be reacting to his presence, changing their patterns as he moved deeper into the structure. The corridor led to a circular chamber at the center of the Sentinel. The walls were covered with displays that showed star maps, technical diagrams, and streams of data in languages Marcus couldn't read. But in the center of the chamber stood something he could understand, a control interface that looked remarkably similar to the engineering stations he had worked on throughout his career. As Marcus approached the interface, the displays around him changed. The alien text was replaced with English words and familiar symbols. The star maps zoomed in to show Earth's solar system, and the technical diagrams began to make sense as schematic drawings of the Sentinel's internal systems. A voice spoke in the chamber, somehow communicating directly into Marcus's mind rather than through his ears. The voice was calm and measured, with an underlying tone of ancient wisdom. "Engineer Marcus Chen," the voice said, "you have restored my primary functions and demonstrated the practical intelligence we have been seeking. I am Sentinel Class Designation Epsilon 7, Guardian and Evaluator of Developing Civilizations. I have been monitoring your species for the past 1,000 of your years." Marcus found his voice, though it came out as barely more than a whisper. "You've been watching us? Why?" "My creators, the architect species, established a network of sentinels throughout this galaxy to identify civilizations that possess the qualities necessary for membership in the Galactic Collective. Many species achieve advanced technology, but few develop the practical wisdom to use it responsibly." The displays around the chamber showed images of other worlds and other species. Some were clearly advanced with gleaming cities and massive spacecraft. Others appeared more primitive, struggling with basic survival. But Marcus noticed something interesting about the images. In every case, the most advanced civilizations showed signs of practical engineering and maintenance, not just theoretical knowledge. "Your species has reached a critical juncture," the Sentinel continued. "You have developed space travel, advanced computing, and weapons of mass destruction. Most species at this stage either destroy themselves through war and environmental collapse or become so focused on theoretical advancement that they lose touch with practical reality." "But humans are different?" Marcus asked. "Humans possess a unique combination of theoretical knowledge and practical application. Your species includes individuals who can design quantum computers and others who can repair them with simple tools when they break. You have philosophers who contemplate the nature of existence and engineers who ensure that the life support systems continue functioning while they think." Marcus looked around at the displays, beginning to understand the magnitude of what was happening. "You're evaluating our entire species based on how I fixed your damaged circuits?" "Not just how you fixed them," the Sentinel replied, "but your approach to the problem. You saw a broken machine and focused on making it work, not on understanding its theoretical principles or claiming credit for the discovery. You used whatever tools were available, improvised when necessary, and persisted until the task was complete." The implications were staggering. Marcus realized that his simple repair work had somehow become a test for all of humanity. The fate of his species might depend on whether he had passed that test. "Your repair methods were crude by architect standards," the Sentinel continued, "but they were effective. More importantly, they demonstrated the kind of practical wisdom that the collective values. Many species can build impressive technology, but few can maintain it under adverse conditions." Marcus thought about all the times he had jury-rigged broken systems using whatever materials were available. Every mining station mechanic, every spacecraft engineer, every technician who had ever kept critical systems running with improvised repairs had been unknowingly demonstrating humanity's worthiness for something far greater than they could have imagined. "What happens now?" Marcus asked. "Now, Engineer Chen, you must make a choice. The collective has protocols for integrating new species, but they require a human representative who can speak for your people and help guide the integration process. Someone who understands both the potential and the limitations of human technology." The displays showed images of other species that had joined the collective. They lived in harmony across multiple star systems, sharing knowledge and resources while maintaining their unique cultural identities. It was everything humanity had dreamed of. Contact with advanced alien civilizations, access to technologies beyond their current understanding, and a place in a galactic community. But Marcus also saw the responsibility that came with such an opportunity. As humanity's representative, he would need to help his species adapt to technologies and concepts far beyond their current comprehension. He would need to ensure that humanity contributed to the collective, rather than simply taking from it. "Why me?" Marcus asked. There are people far more qualified than a maintenance engineer. Scientists, diplomats, leaders who understand politics and international relations. Because, Engineer Chen, the collective values those who solve problems rather than those who create them. Your species has many brilliant theorists and charismatic leaders, but they are not necessarily the best judges of what humanity needs to survive and prosper among the stars. Marcus understood. The Sentinel wasn't looking for someone who could negotiate treaties or explain scientific principles. It was looking for someone who could look at a broken system and figure out how to fix it, regardless of how complex or alien that system might be. The displays around the chamber changed once more, showing images of Earth from space. Marcus could see the lights of cities, the movement of weather patterns, and the delicate blue atmosphere that protected all life on the planet. It was beautiful and fragile. A single world holding billions of people who had no idea that their future was being decided in an alien machine in the Nevada desert. "I need time to think about this," Marcus said finally. "Of course," the Sentinel replied, "but understand that this opportunity will not be offered again. The collective encounters many species during their development, and few receive an invitation to join. If humanity is not ready now, the next evaluation will not occur for another 1,000 years. Marcus felt the weight of that statement. 1,000 years was an eternity in human terms. Entire civilizations could rise and fall in that time. Climate change, resource depletion, or political conflicts could destroy humanity long before they received another chance at galactic membership. But accepting the responsibility meant leaving behind everything he had known. His work, his life on Earth, even his identity as a simple maintenance engineer would be transformed by this choice. He would become something unprecedented in human history, an ambassador to alien civilizations, a bridge between human practical wisdom and galactic knowledge. The Sentinel seemed to sense his internal struggle. "Perhaps it would help if you understood more about what membership in the collective would mean for your species," it said, "and what would be required of you as their representative." The displays shifted again, showing detailed images of collective technology. Marcus saw cities that floated in the clouds of gas-giant planets, ships that could travel between stars in days rather than years, and machines that could repair themselves using principles he couldn't even begin to understand. But he also saw something else. In every image, there were individuals engaged in practical work, maintaining systems, repairing equipment, solving problems with their hands as much as their minds. The collective hadn't abandoned practical knowledge in pursuit of theoretical advancement. Instead, they had found a way to combine both approaches into something greater than either could achieve alone. The integration process would begin slowly, the Sentinel explained. Selected human engineers and technicians would receive training in collective maintenance protocols. Scientists would gain access to theoretical frameworks that could accelerate human development by centuries. But the process would be guided by practical considerations, not theoretical ideals. Marcus began to see how it could work. Humanity's strength wasn't in having the most advanced technology, but in their ability to make any technology work under real-world conditions. That skill would be valuable to the collective, just as the collective's knowledge would be valuable to humanity. "How long do I have to decide?" Marcus asked. "The choice must be made before I leave Earth's surface," the Sentinel replied. "Once I return to my patrol route, this opportunity ends, but I will give you until dawn to consider your decision." Marcus looked around the chamber one last time, memorizing every detail. Whether he accepted or declined the Sentinel's offer, his life would never be the same. The knowledge of what existed beyond Earth, the understanding of humanity's place in the universe, would stay with him forever. "Can I communicate with the outside?" he asked. "My colleagues will be worried." "Communications are blocked while you remain inside my structure," the Sentinel replied. This conversation must remain private until you have made your choice. The knowledge I have shared with you would cause panic and chaos if released prematurely." Marcus nodded, understanding the wisdom of that restriction. The mere existence of the Galactic Collective would transform human society in ways that couldn't be predicted or controlled. If he chose to decline the offer, it might be better if that knowledge died with him. But as he considered the implications of keeping such a secret, Marcus realized that the choice had already been made, not by his conscious mind, but by the same instincts that had driven him to repair the Sentinel in the first place. When faced with a broken system, his first impulse was always to fix it, regardless of the personal cost or complexity of the problem. Humanity was not broken, but it was incomplete. They had developed remarkable technologies and achieved incredible things, but they remained isolated on a single world, unaware of the vast community that existed beyond their solar system. The Sentinel was offering a chance to fix that isolation, to connect humanity to something greater than they had ever imagined. Marcus settled into a chair near the control interface and began to seriously consider what accepting the Sentinel's offer would mean, not just for himself, but for every human being on Earth. The weight of that responsibility was overwhelming, but he had never backed down from a difficult repair job in his life. Dawn was still 3 hours away when Marcus made his decision. He had spent the night studying the displays in the Sentinel's chamber, learning about the Galactic Collective and the responsibilities that would come with representing humanity. The choice had become clearer with each passing hour. "I accept," Marcus said aloud, his voice echoing in the circular chamber. The Sentinel's response was immediate. The displays around the room shifted to show new information. Star charts marking the locations of collective worlds, technical specifications for technologies that would be shared with humanity, and most importantly, the protocols for integrating a new species into the galactic community. "Your acceptance initiates several processes," the Sentinel explained. "First, you will undergo neural enhancement to allow direct communication with collective systems. Second, a small group of human scientists and engineers will be selected for initial training. Third, formal contact protocols will be established between Earth's governments and collective representatives." Marcus felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. What exactly does neural enhancement involve? "A non-invasive procedure that creates quantum-level connections between your brain and collective communication networks. You will retain your human consciousness and personality, but gain the ability to interface directly with advanced technologies. Think of it as adding a new sense rather than changing your existing ones." The center of the chamber reconfigured itself, panels sliding aside to reveal what looked like a sophisticated medical station. Marcus approached cautiously, noting that the equipment appeared to be adapting itself for human physiology. The Sentinel was already customizing its systems based on the scans it had performed earlier. "The enhancement process takes approximately 6 hours," the Sentinel continued. "During this time, I will also be establishing secure communication channels with Earth's leadership and beginning the selection process for additional human participants." Marcus settled into the medical station's chair, which adjusted automatically to fit his body perfectly. "How do you choose who gets selected?" "Based on the same criteria that led me to select you," the Sentinel replied. "Practical intelligence, adaptability, and the ability to solve problems under pressure. The collective has learned that these qualities are more valuable than pure theoretical knowledge when integrating new technologies." Neural interfaces descended from the ceiling, positioning themselves around Marcus's head without actually touching him. He could feel energy fields scanning his brain, mapping neural pathways and establishing the quantum connections the Sentinel had described. "Will this hurt?" Marcus asked, trying to keep his voice steady. "You may experience some disorientation initially, but no pain. The process is designed to work with your existing neural architecture rather than altering it." As the enhancement began, Marcus felt a strange, tingling sensation spreading through his mind. It wasn't painful, but it was profoundly alien, like suddenly discovering that he had been colorblind his entire life and was seeing the full spectrum for the first time. Information began flowing into his consciousness through pathways that hadn't existed moments before. He could sense the Sentinel's massive computer systems, feel the flow of data through its circuits, and understand the complex algorithms that governed its decision-making processes. But rather than overwhelming him, the information organized itself naturally, as if his brain had always been designed to process it. "Fascinating," the Sentinel observed. "Your neural adaptation rate is significantly higher than our projections. Most species require days or weeks to fully integrate quantum consciousness interfaces. You appear to be achieving integration within hours." Marcus could sense the truth of that statement through his new neural pathways. The human brain's neuroplasticity was apparently far superior to most species the collective had encountered. Where other beings needed extensive training and gradual adaptation, humans could apparently leap directly into advanced consciousness integration. "Is that unusual?" Marcus asked, though he could already sense the answer through his connection to the Sentinel's databases. "Extremely unusual. It suggests that human consciousness may be more compatible with collective technologies than we anticipated. This will significantly accelerate the integration timeline." Through his enhanced senses, Marcus could perceive the Sentinel's external communications systems activating. Quantum messages were being transmitted across impossible distances, carrying news of humanity's acceptance into the collective to representatives scattered throughout the galaxy. He could also sense the Sentinel's sensors turning toward Earth, scanning for individuals who met the selection criteria. The process was incredibly sophisticated, analyzing not just technical skills and knowledge, but personality traits, problem-solving approaches, and psychological stability. "I'm detecting suitable candidates across multiple continents," the Sentinel reported. Dr. Elena Vasquez, a propulsion engineer in Madrid, who recently solved a critical reactor failure using improvised components. Lieutenant Commander James Okafor in Lagos, who has kept aging naval systems operational for 15 years beyond their design specifications. Dr. Sarah Chen in Beijing, a systems specialist who maintains the International Space Station's life support systems. Marcus noticed something interesting about the selection pattern. You're not choosing the most famous scientists or the highest-ranking military officers? Correct. Fame and rank often correlate negatively with practical problem-solving ability. The individuals being selected are those who excel at making things work under real-world conditions, regardless of their official status or public recognition. As his neural enhancement neared completion, Marcus began to understand the full scope of what was happening. The collective wasn't just offering humanity access to advanced technology, they were recognizing something unique about human practical intelligence that even humans themselves didn't fully appreciate. "Your species has a remarkable ability to improvise solutions using available resources," the Sentinel explained. "This trait is extremely rare among spacefaring civilizations. Most species either become completely dependent on automated systems or develop such rigid technological protocols that they cannot adapt to unexpected situations." Marcus thought about the countless times he had seen human engineers create brilliant solutions using nothing but spare parts and determination. Every military unit that had kept equipment running in hostile environments, every research station that had survived equipment failures through improvised repairs, every spacecraft crew that had solved life-threatening problems with creative engineering. "The collective has encountered numerous species with superior theoretical knowledge," the Sentinel continued, "but practical wisdom, the ability to make things work, regardless of ideal conditions, is far more valuable for long-term survival and prosperity." The neural enhancement process completed with a sensation like suddenly coming into focus after a lifetime of blurry vision. Marcus could perceive information flowing through quantum channels, sense the activities of other collective sentinels throughout the galaxy, and understand technological principles that would have been incomprehensible just hours earlier. But more importantly, he could sense the reactions of other collective species to news of humanity's acceptance. There was curiosity, excitement, and something that felt remarkably like relief. "Why relief?" Marcus asked, realizing he had spoken his thoughts aloud. "The collective has been facing increasing challenges in maintaining our technological infrastructure across such a vast territory," the Sentinel explained. "Many member species have become so specialized in theoretical advancement that they have lost touch with practical maintenance and repair skills. The addition of human practical intelligence could help solve critical long-term sustainability issues." Marcus began to understand that humanity's invitation to join the collective wasn't just an honor, it was a necessity. The galactic community needed the skills that humans took for granted, just as humans needed access to collective knowledge and technology. "What happens next?" Marcus asked. "First, we establish formal contact with Earth's governments. This must be handled carefully to avoid panic or political destabilization. Second, the selected human representatives will undergo training at collective facilities. Third, we begin the gradual integration of human and collective technologies." The displays around the chamber changed to show Earth's major political centers. Marcus could see the Sentinel's scanning systems analyzing governmental structures, military capabilities, and social stability factors. "Earth's political fragmentation presents some challenges," the Sentinel observed. "Most species achieve unified planetary government before developing space travel. Humanity has maintained separate national entities even while exploring their solar system." "Is that a problem?" Marcus asked, though he suspected he already knew the answer. "Not necessarily. Political diversity can actually be beneficial if managed properly. Different governmental approaches provide multiple perspectives on problem-solving and resource management. However, it does complicate initial contact protocols." Through his enhanced consciousness, Marcus could perceive the Sentinel's analysis of Earth's political landscape. It was identifying key decision-makers who would need to be contacted, evaluating their likely reactions to alien contact, and developing strategies for minimizing potential conflicts. "The integration process will begin with a small number of selected individuals," the Sentinel explained. "This allows for careful monitoring and gradual expansion of the program. Full planetary integration typically takes between 50 and 100 years. Marcus realized that he would be serving as humanity's representative for the rest of his natural lifetime, and possibly beyond if collective medical technology could extend human lifespans. The responsibility was enormous, but he felt ready for it. Every difficult repair job he had ever completed had prepared him for this ultimate challenge. "When do we make contact with Earth's governments?" Marcus asked. "Within the next 24 hours. I am currently establishing encrypted communication channels with key leaders in major nations. The initial contact will involve a demonstration of collective technology, followed by the presentation of membership terms and conditions." The Sentinel's external sensors suddenly detected movement around the research facility. Military reinforcements were arriving, apparently in response to the previous night's unusual energy readings. Marcus could sense their confusion and concern through the Sentinel's monitoring systems. "Your colleagues are preparing for potential hostile action," the Sentinel observed. "Perhaps it would be beneficial to demonstrate our peaceful intentions." Marcus agreed. "Can you communicate with them without revealing everything we've discussed?" "I can establish limited communication while maintaining operational security. Would you like to speak with Dr. Williams and Colonel Barnes?" "Yes, but let me do the talking." "They'll trust explanations coming from me more than from an alien intelligence." The Sentinel activated its external communication systems, and Marcus heard the familiar voices of his colleagues through his enhanced consciousness. "Marcus, thank God you're alive," Dr. Williams said. "We lost all contact with you hours ago. What's happening in there?" "I'm fine, Dr. Williams," Marcus replied, his voice being transmitted through the Sentinel's speakers. "The situation is under control, but I need you to call off the military response. This isn't a hostile situation." "Marcus, you've been inside an alien machine for 12 hours, Colonel Barnes interrupted. "We have no idea what it might be doing to you. You need to evacuate immediately." "Colonel, I understand your concerns, but I need you to trust me," Marcus said. "This machine isn't a weapon. It's a communication device, and it's been trying to establish contact with humanity for months. The repairs I made last night allowed it to complete its mission." Through his enhanced senses, Marcus could perceive the confusion and skepticism in their voices. They were trying to process information that challenged every assumption they had made about the Sentinel. "What kind of communication?" Dr. Williams asked. "Who is it trying to contact?" "Earth's governments, initially," Marcus replied. "But Dr. Williams, what I'm about to tell you is going to sound impossible. This machine represents something called the Galactic Collective, a community of alien civilizations that spans this entire galaxy." The silence that followed was deafening. Marcus could sense the shock and disbelief radiating from the research facility through the Sentinel's sensors. "Marcus," Colonel Barnes said finally, "you're saying this is first contact with an alien civilization?" "Not just one civilization, Colonel. Hundreds of them. And they're inviting humanity to join their community." The implications hit them like a physical blow. Marcus could sense their excitement, fear, confusion, and wonder all mixed together in an emotional cocktail that threatened to overwhelm their rational thinking. "What do they want from us?" Dr. Williams asked, her scientific curiosity overriding her initial shock. "They want our practical engineering skills," Marcus replied. "Apparently, humanity has a unique talent for maintaining and repairing complex systems under adverse conditions. That's a valuable skill set in a galactic community." "And they chose you as their contact because you fixed their machine?" Colonel Barnes asked. "Because I approached their machine as a maintenance problem rather than a theoretical puzzle," Marcus corrected. "They weren't looking for someone who could understand their technology completely. They were looking for someone who could make it work." Through his enhanced consciousness, Marcus could perceive the Sentinel preparing for the next phase of contact. Encrypted quantum communications were being established with governmental leaders around the world. Within hours, the most powerful people on Earth would be learning about humanity's invitation to join the Galactic Collective. "Dr. Williams, Colonel Barnes, I need you to prepare for some major changes," Marcus said. "Within the next few days, representatives from several alien civilizations will be arriving on Earth. They'll be establishing formal diplomatic relations and beginning the process of integrating human and alien technologies." "How many representatives?" Colonel Barnes asked, his military training focusing on practical details. "The Sentinel hasn't provided exact numbers, but I get the impression we're talking about a significant diplomatic mission. They take the integration of new species very seriously." Marcus could sense the Sentinel's approval of his communication strategy. By providing just enough information to prepare his colleagues without overwhelming them, he was demonstrating the kind of practical wisdom that had led to his selection in the first place. "What about the rest of humanity?" Dr. Williams asked. "When will this information be made public?" "That decision will be made by Earth's governments in consultation with collective representatives," Marcus replied. "But I suspect they'll want to prepare carefully before making any public announcements." The conversation continued for another hour, with Marcus providing basic information about the collective while avoiding details that might cause panic or confusion. His colleagues gradually accepted that they were witnessing the most significant moment in human history, but they also understood that the situation required careful handling. As dawn broke over the Nevada desert, Marcus prepared to leave the Sentinel's chamber and rejoin his colleagues. The neural enhancements had stabilized, and he could sense the vast network of collective communications that now connected him to alien intelligences across the galaxy. "The integration process begins now," the Sentinel announced. "You are no longer simply Marcus Chen, maintenance engineer. You are Marcus Chen, human representative to the Galactic Collective. Are you ready for that responsibility?" Marcus stood up from the medical station and looked around the chamber one last time. In less than 24 hours, his entire understanding of the universe had been transformed. But at its core, this was still a maintenance problem, just on a scale he had never imagined before. Humanity's systems were working, but they weren't integrated with the larger galactic community. That integration would require careful planning, skilled implementation, and the ability to troubleshoot problems as they arose. In other words, it would require exactly the kind of practical engineering skills that had led to his selection. "I'm ready," Marcus said, and he meant it. The Sentinel's chamber began reconfiguring itself for his departure. The entrance that had sealed behind him the previous night reopened, revealing the desert landscape and the anxious faces of his colleagues waiting outside. As Marcus walked toward the exit, he carried with him the weight of representing his entire species to civilizations beyond human comprehension. But he also carried the confidence that came from a lifetime of solving impossible problems with practical solutions. The real work was just beginning. 6 months after first contact, Marcus stood on the observation deck of the collective orbital facility that now hung in Earth's orbit like a second moon. Through the transparent aluminum walls, he could see shuttles moving between the alien station and the surface of his home planet. Each shuttle carried human engineers, scientists, and technicians who were beginning their training in collective technologies. The integration process had exceeded everyone's expectations. What the collective had originally estimated would take 50 years was happening in compressed time frames that amazed even the most optimistic projections. Human adaptability to alien technology was proving to be remarkable, but more importantly, humans were solving problems that had stymied collective engineers for decades. "Representative Chen, the Architect Council is ready for your report," announced Aria, the artificial intelligence that managed the orbital facility. Aria had been designed using a combination of collective quantum processing and human intuitive algorithms, making her one of the most sophisticated AI systems in the galaxy. Marcus straightened his new uniform, a practical combination of human military design and collective materials that could adapt to any environment. The neural enhancements he had received 6 months earlier had evolved far beyond their original specifications, allowing him to interface directly with technology from dozens of different collective species. "Thank you, Aria. Are the other human representatives ready?" Dr. Vasquez is completing her report on propulsion system improvements. Commander Okafor is finishing his analysis of defensive technologies, and Dr. Chen is reviewing her life support optimizations. All will be ready within 10 minutes. Marcus smiled at the efficiency. The team of human representatives had grown to include specialists from every major technological field, but they all shared the same practical approach to problem solving that had led to their selection. Together, they had become humanity's voice in the Galactic Collective. The Architect Council chamber was unlike anything that existed on Earth. Representatives from 47 different species sat in arrangements that accommodated their varied physiologies and environmental needs. Some breathed methane, others required high-pressure environments, and a few existed as pure energy beings. Yet they all shared the same goal: maintaining the stability and prosperity of the Galactic Collective. The integration of human technical capabilities has proceeded with unprecedented success, announced Architect Prime Zephyros, the leader of the council and representative of the species that had founded the collective millennia ago. "Representative Chen, please provide your status report." Marcus activated his neural interface and connected to the chamber's presentation systems. Data flowed directly from his enhanced consciousness to the displays around the room, showing the results of 6 months of human collective collaboration. Thank you, Architect Prime. Human integration has exceeded all initial projections in 3 key areas: technical innovation, system maintenance, and crisis response. Our engineers have developed solutions to 43 previously unsolvable technical problems, reduced maintenance requirements across collective facilities by 37%, and created new protocols that have prevented 14 system failures that could have resulted in catastrophic damage. The data displays showed specific examples of human innovations. Dr. Vasquez's team had redesigned collective propulsion systems to be 400% more efficient by applying human principles of mechanical simplicity. Commander Okafor's defensive innovations had created shield systems that could adapt to multiple attack vectors simultaneously. Dr. Chen's life support optimizations had reduced resource consumption while improving reliability across all collective installations. Most significantly, Marcus continued, human diagnostic techniques have identified systemic vulnerabilities in collective infrastructure that had gone undetected for centuries. We estimate that addressing these vulnerabilities will prevent approximately 12 major system failures per year across the galaxy. The council chamber buzzed with excitement from species that communicated through everything from vibrations to electromagnetic pulses. The collective had always prided itself on technological advancement, but they were discovering that advancement without practical maintenance wisdom led to increasingly fragile systems. Representative Chen, spoke Architect Mellanox, a crystalline being whose thoughts manifested as harmonic resonances. Explain how human diagnostic techniques differ from our established protocols. Marcus had been expecting this question. It was the heart of humanity's unique contribution to the collective. Our approach combines intuitive pattern recognition with systematic troubleshooting. Where collective protocols rely on comprehensive theoretical analysis, human techniques focus on identifying the most likely failure points based on practical experience. He activated a technical demonstration that showed both approaches analyzing the same system failure. The collective method was thorough and precise, but required 47 hours to identify the problem. The human approach identified the same issue in 12 minutes. This efficiency gain isn't just about speed, Marcus explained. It's about prevention. Human engineers can identify potential problems before they become actual failures, allowing for preemptive maintenance that prevents system downtime. The implications were staggering for a civilization that spanned thousands of star systems. Every hour of prevented downtime represented enormous savings in resources and prevented disruptions to billions of beings across the galaxy. The collective has also benefited from human crisis management capabilities, Marcus continued. Our team has responded to 18 emergency situations in the past 6 months, developing solutions that prevented catastrophic damage to critical infrastructure. The displays showed examples of human crisis response. When a quantum processing facility in the Centauri sector suffered cascade failures, human engineers had developed a containment solution in 4 hours that prevented the loss of an entire research installation. Similar interventions had saved mining operations, communication networks, and even planetary defense systems. But perhaps most importantly, Marcus said, humans have demonstrated the ability to train other species in practical maintenance techniques. We're not just solving problems ourselves, we're teaching collective member species how to prevent and solve problems independently. This was the real breakthrough that had surprised everyone. Humans were natural teachers of practical skills, able to break down complex procedures into understandable steps that other species could follow. Training programs developed by human instructors were producing technicians from dozens of different species who could perform maintenance and repairs with unprecedented effectiveness. The long-term implications of human integration extend far beyond technical improvements, Marcus concluded. We're creating a more resilient collective that can adapt to unexpected challenges and maintain complex systems across impossible distances. Architect Prime. Zephyros's bioluminescent patterns shifted to indicate deep satisfaction. Representative Chen, your species has exceeded our most optimistic projections. The collective formally recognizes humanity as a full member species, with all privileges and responsibilities that designation entails. The announcement sent waves of excitement through the chamber. Full membership meant that humans would have equal voting rights in collective decisions, access to all technologies and knowledge, and the ability to establish colonies on any available worlds within collective territory. But Marcus knew that the real significance was deeper than political recognition. Humanity had found its place in the galaxy not as supplicants seeking advanced technology, but as equal partners whose unique skills were essential to the collective's continued prosperity. Furthermore, Architect Prime Zephyros continued, the Council has approved the establishment of human technical academies on 17 worlds throughout collective space. These facilities will train both human and alien personnel in practical maintenance and crisis response techniques. The implications hit Marcus like a physical blow. Humanity was being invited not just to join the collective, but to help lead it. Human practical wisdom was becoming a cornerstone of galactic civilization. There is one additional matter, announced Architect Voss. A gaseous being whose thoughts manifested as color changes in her containment field. Long-range sensors have detected the approach of the Devourers, a hostile machine intelligence that has consumed 17 galaxies. They are approximately 400 years away from our location. The chamber fell silent. Marcus could sense the fear and uncertainty radiating from dozens of different species. The Devourers were the collective's greatest nightmare, a self-replicating machine intelligence that consumed entire galaxies, converting all matter into more of itself. Previous collective defense strategies have proven ineffective against Devourer technology, Architect Voss continued. Their systems are too advanced, too numerous, and too adaptable for conventional resistance. However, human crisis management capabilities may provide new approaches to this challenge. Marcus felt the weight of that statement. Humanity had just joined the Galactic Collective, and they were already being asked to help defend it against an existential threat. But as he considered the problem, he realized that this was exactly the kind of challenge that human practical wisdom was designed to address. Representative Chen, Architect Prime Zephyros said, the Council formally requests that humanity lead the development of new defensive strategies against the Devourer threat. Will your species accept this responsibility? Marcus didn't hesitate. We accept, but we'll need access to all available data about previous encounters with the Devourers, complete technical specifications for collective defensive systems, and the authority to implement whatever solutions we develop. Granted, the Architect Prime replied immediately. Representative Chen, the survival of the collective may depend on human ingenuity and practical wisdom. We place our trust in your species' ability to find solutions where others have failed. As the council session ended and representatives began dispersing to their various environmental requirements, Marcus remained behind to process what had just happened. 6 months ago, he had been a simple maintenance engineer fixing a broken alien machine. Now he was humanity's representative in a galactic civilization, and his species had just been tasked with defending that civilization against an unprecedented threat. But as overwhelming as the responsibility was, Marcus felt confident in humanity's ability to meet the challenge. Every human engineer who had ever jury-rigged a solution under impossible conditions, every technician who had kept critical systems running when they should have failed, every mechanic who had fixed problems that the manufacturers said were unfixable. They had all been preparing for this moment without knowing it. The Devourers might be the most advanced machine intelligence the galaxy had ever encountered, but they had never faced human practical wisdom. They had never encountered a species that could look at any system, no matter how complex or alien, and figure out how to make it work better, how to fix it when it broke, and how to defend it against threats it was never designed to handle. Marcus activated his neural interface and began accessing the collective's databases on the Devourer threat. 400 years seemed like a long time, but he knew that developing effective defenses against galaxy-consuming machines would require every day they had available. The data was sobering. The Devourers were indeed incredibly advanced, with technology that surpassed even the collective's most sophisticated systems. They could replicate themselves at exponential rates, adapt to any defensive strategy within hours, and convert entire star systems into more of themselves with terrifying efficiency. But as Marcus studied the technical specifications, he began to see patterns that other analysts had missed. The Devourers were incredibly sophisticated, but they were also incredibly specialized. Their technology was optimized for efficiency and replication, which meant it might be vulnerable to approaches they weren't designed to handle. "Area, please connect me to all human representatives currently on the station," Marcus requested. Within minutes, his enhanced consciousness was linked to the minds of humanity's finest technical specialists. Dr. Vasquez's expertise in propulsion systems, Commander Okafor's knowledge of defensive technologies, Dr. Chen's mastery of life support systems, and dozens of others who had proven their worth during the integration process. "Team, we have a new challenge," Marcus began, sharing the Devourer data directly through their neural links. "The collective is facing an existential threat, and they're asking humanity to find solutions that have eluded galactic civilization for millennia." The response was immediate and enthusiastic. Every human representative began analyzing the problem from their unique perspective, applying practical problem-solving approaches that the collective had never considered. "The Devourer's replication systems are incredibly sophisticated," Dr. Vasquez observed, "but they're also completely automated. They've optimized for efficiency at the expense of adaptability. Their defensive systems are designed to counter energy weapons and conventional explosives," Commander Okafor added. "They might not be prepared for kinetic impacts or exotic matter interactions. Most importantly," Dr. Chen concluded, "they're machines. No matter how advanced they are, they still have to follow basic physical laws and engineering principles. That means they have limitations we can exploit." Marcus felt a familiar excitement building, the same feeling he had always gotten when approaching a complex repair job that everyone else had given up on. The Devourers were just another broken system that needed fixing, albeit on a galactic scale. "Area, please schedule a meeting with the Architect Council for tomorrow morning," Marcus requested. "We're going to present some preliminary defensive strategies that they probably haven't considered." "Affirmative, Representative Chen. Should I also schedule fabrication time in the engineering bays? The human representatives appear to be developing concepts that will require physical prototypes." Marcus smiled. Arya was learning to think like a human engineer, anticipating the need for hands-on testing and development. "Yes, schedule as much fabrication time as we need. We're going to build some things that have never existed before." As the human team dispersed to begin their analysis and development work, Marcus remained on the observation deck, looking down at Earth. The blue marble that had been humanity's entire universe just 6 months ago was now the home base for species that might hold the key to galactic survival. The Devourers were 400 years away, but Marcus knew that human practical wisdom worked best under pressure. They would develop solutions not just because they were asked to, but because that's what humans did when faced with impossible problems. And somewhere in the back of his mind, Marcus could already see the beginnings of a plan. The Devourers were sophisticated machines, but they had never encountered anything like human engineering ingenuity. They were about to learn that the most dangerous thing in the galaxy wasn't advanced technology or overwhelming firepower. It was a human engineer who looked at a broken system and decided to fix it, no matter how impossible the job might seem. The real test of humanity's place in the Galactic Collective was about to begin, and Marcus couldn't wait to get started.